Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the MI podcast. So, today's episode would be about humanizing your brand. So, over the last 15 years, we've seen so many of these platforms coming up, like YouTube, Instagram, and all. And via them, there are a lot of people who have connected with their audience and who we call now influencers. Now, why is it that they've made such a deep connection with the particular audience when it's not so much produced videos? We've had like homegrown influencers who have come into this game and they have connected so much with the audience. I mean, many of them, when we see them today, they have like millions of followers. So, what was the reason of it? Because I feel in a way humans connect with humans, and with their journey, obviously they had great personalities, they had some kind of a skill set or domain they had expertise in, so they were able to communicate that well with the audience and they connected more. And brands, somewhere over the period of time, they've felt that with their produced content and like very a feel, a more machine like feel than a human like feel when they are putting out content that was not connecting with the audience. So that wherein came these strategies of humanizing a brand. Over the past few years, you've seen Twitter handles of so many major brands, how they talk in a very human tone. There'll be humor, they will have a various range of emotions that you will feel when you are interacting with them. It's like you are interacting with a person, a particular influencer. So this is an interesting topic to see, wherein it is, I think, a main part, like how humane you are in your efforts, in your marketing efforts per se, and connecting more with your audience. So today we have a very special guest. We have Nandini Agrawal. Thanks a lot, Nandini, for joining me.
Hey Nikhil, hey everyone. Thank you so much, first of all, to invite me. And I'm very, very excited to begin. This is a topic very close to my heart, and I'd love to talk about it. Thank you.
That's right. And Nandini, where are you joining us from?
I am in my hometown, Varanasi, also known as Banaras. So, yeah.
That's great. Awesome. And to the audience, a little bit, Nandini, if you could take us through, in terms of where you have studied and what you are doing currently.
Sure, sure. So, okay, this has been a roller coaster ride for me. I started doing my chemistry honors from Delhi University back in 2019. I graduated in 2022, and I was like in the COVID batch, as they call it. So, starting second year, I had a lot of time, and I was not sure if I wanted to pursue chemistry after graduation as well. So I started looking out. I did a number of internships, volunteerships, and understood that marketing is definitely something that I want to understand more. It suits my personality. So I started diving deeper. I read up on a lot of stuff, did a lot of courses, and finally did a lot of freelance gigs, and finally ended up on a social media job after college. It was with Dentsu Web Chutney, now a part of Dentsu Creative. I was the social media account executive there for Poco India. After that, it's been a journey of learning more. I've been doing my diploma with MICA and Upgrad. Other than that, I'm also freelancing a bit right now. So, I mean, that's about it. But I'm trying to focus more on upskilling myself and, being open still to a lot of more explorations and adventures.
That's
That's
right.
about it.
And Nandini, your LinkedIn strategy, what has it been till now? Like, are you going in there with a certain, I have to do certain posts per week, certain comments, or it's kind of very organic, like where how you're kind of approaching it? But since you are in this profession, you are in the social media marketing, so it's kind of you're taking it in a very organic way. How you feel, what work you're doing, you're sharing that only.
Got it. So, see, very close to what our topic is today, humanizing our brand, and I'm one big custodian of it. So, I do think that maybe I want to post 3 times a week, 4 times a week, but it truly comes from within. I mean, that's how also we connected, and I always try to put in content that's very authentic to me, that's something very close to my heart. I don't want to put out something that's, very cliche there. I'd rather share my experiences. So, it's more human, and, I hope that people can feel that bit of me in those posts. So, I mean, that's my strategy overall.
Awesome, awesome. So we'll go to our first point of discussion about this topic is about why your strategy has to include humanizing a brand and what all entails it.
Correct. So this is a very interesting proposition if we talk about it. I mean, see, in the world of it being more digital every day, we just really forget who is the person who's behind these screens. I mean, even if it's for a brand or if it's for a personal brand, it's about understanding that there's a person behind the screen who's running all of this. And this is exactly what humanizing your brand is. You need to have a brand personality, just as every human being has a personality. You have a personality, I have a personality. A brand should also have a personality. And I mean, I won't focus on a lot of what because everybody understands it about humanizing your brand, but I'd rather focus on why humanizing your brand is important. So see, since 2 3 years, the content overload has been super. I mean, there's so much content out there. There's so many products out there for every category that you say, every product that you say, you'll easily find 10, 15 brands easily. So what is there that is the difference between all of these brands? See, price or marketing or design, packaging, all of these, yes, they matter, but then there's this emotional benefit as compared to the functional benefit, which is very important for brands to cater to at this time. You can differentiate yourself easily with an emotional benefit, and that happens through building connections with your audience. And as humans, I mean, the very fundamental of us is to make connections. We like to relate to brands, people. We like to hear stories from them. We want to understand how their journey has been. So humanizing in the sense of gaining an emotional benefit over a functional benefit in this time is very relevant. And I mean, it wouldn't be complete if I wouldn't talk about Zomato for a bit here. Because I mean, Zomato, if you go through, it's an excellent example of how they're humanizing the brand. The brand has a fun POV. It also has a cultural, angle to it. It also shows compassion and love towards, say, their delivery partners. So the emotion has been excellent. I mean, if you see their recent Independence Day posts, or if you see their last Independence Day post that was like viral, the one that they said that independence is delivered, and the one wherein they're now saying that nation is more important than delivery. So all of these actually show that the brand has certain values that they cater to just as humans. Again, humor is all over the brand, so I don't need to mention that really. For example, one hilarious reel that I saw from them was a Saif Ali Khan version of a Sauf Ali Khan that they made with Sauf, literally. That was
That's
very hilarious. And plus, a lot of relatable stuff that they put. For example, they said, don't do drugs except for Pani Puri. So, I mean, see, this is something that we all relate to. So, understanding what are certain emotions that you need to cater to and what kind of a personality you want to bring out, and bringing those out properly in your social media and, across your marketing communications is why,
that's
is an example and why humanizing is important.
That's right. So Nandini, in terms of say when you are saying you're humanizing your brand, so firstly you have to identify your brand in terms of a customer persona we take as marketers. So create a persona of your brand itself. Like okay, this is my age group that I'm in. This is what kind of thing interests me. This is what I'm passionate about. So that you have to make for your own brand, and then that is a starting point of how you go forward.
Definitely, definitely. See, you have to speak in the language of your target audience. I mean, you
Hmm.
should have some original personality, but just imagine we also, as humans, get attracted to the people who share qualities with us, who share values with us. We'd like to invest more time with them. Similarly, for brands, if we have a similar, reflecting personality of the target audience, it definitely helps them, invest more within the brands. So
That's
definitely, we need to understand what the target audience is, how they react, how they act, what are the things that are important to them, and try to talk about them.
That's right. That's right. So in terms of like say if you identify your major TG, like a company like Zomato, I'm 100% sure an age group of say 20 to 30 would be one of the major TGs. So you kind of talk around that and the interest. Like obviously you being a foodie is like a thing. But going in for
Yeah.
Zomato, you'll have different cuisines that you can order and different kind of shops you can restaurants and all you visit, and also within that I think that would be the first step in identifying, and then your content around that, what if you are also that TG, that what you would find humorous, what you would find you would kind of connect with it. Sometimes there is even a message on a high emotion. It could be like you mentioned, Independence Day, so patriotism. So that way I think we can start off with in that. So going forward within that, in humanizing, what do you feel? Another thing I mentioned about influencers and that connect they have, that was kind of why this strategy also came into place, because the influencers were having a deeper connection than the
Correct.
brand accounts, and
Correct.
they have, even till today, they have bigger followings and all. What other things do you think that their brands can learn from the influencers and then incorporate it within their strategy?
Correct. Correct. See, what do we connect to when we look at influencers? They don't start off as celebrities. They don't start off as brand ambassadors. But, just from day one, they're posting about everything that's happening in their life. It's just as relatable as it is for me and you. They also have a similar life, and we've been a part of it. So,
Yeah,
when you are part of somebody's journey, you're more invested in them, you're more interested, you're more emotionally bent towards them. So this is exactly how, not influencers, I mean not initial influencers, but they have become influencers because they've shared every bit of their story there. And
hmm,
again, stories is something that connects all humans. So that's the
that's right.
story that we follow is something that connects us to influencers. And smaller businesses, I mean, right now are doing excellent in terms of duplicating and working on these influencer strategies. I mean, you
Hmm,
see smaller brands, their co-founders out there are going to put BTS, how their day is going, how work is coming up, what are the stresses in the work. So it kind of feels like, yeah, I'm a part of their journey. So small businesses in this sense are doing excellent in terms of bringing in their team, co-founders as influencers and building their brand image.
that's it. Yeah, and also brands, I mean, which are coming up. That is, if you all are not following that, that is something to learn from, where you are including a lot of these, like a vlog. Almost you can showcase, if there has
Correct.
been a certain shoot you've done or a campaign, or like say you are producing a good, so your factory tour of that. So those kind of things you can kind of start incorporating it in within your strategy, and then kind of go it, because I think what the major brands, if you take over a period of time, the BTS content was something that influencers had only got, like they were showcasing their whole day, you can say, like a
Correct.
vlog, and it's like it's virtually like a behind the scenes thing. So a lot of this they connected with, also with the short form content, the formats and the way it is executed. It's because this platform is open to millions of people. The brand learned a lot from some influencers who became viral with certain kind of content. So yeah, that is something to kind of learn from them. Yeah.
Correct.
Awesome. So, nextly, I think, Nandini, if you can talk about how do you showcase that? Now, very important issue is about authenticity, right? Like, how do
Mm-hmm.
you showcase? How do you, build that? It is easy to say that, but in terms of your regular content or your social media strategy or your marketing communications, how do you bring about that authenticity and showcasing that you have a genuine personality? It's not coming across as salesy, and something which the interests of your TG also are to your heart.
Correct. Correct. So I think the first way to go about is not to go too hard on it. I mean, if you try too much to show that you're authentic, that that just defeats the purpose of it.
Hmm.
So, I mean, don't try to be so wannabe that, oh, I'm trying to be very authentic and I'm just very honest. That's something that immediately puts the guard of the people on, and they're like, no, this is something that's dishonest. So, showcasing authenticity, I think, is in the process of making brands also a little vulnerable without being needy, but just vulnerable in front of their audiences, that okay, this is something that even we are facing, this is something that is undergoing. Or again, I want to bring in the example of smaller businesses here and then give you an example of a great campaign that Uber did globally. So to start with, again, small businesses can do BTS content, can show the brand being worked on, and then there are people behind of it. So authenticity is again brought through honest conversations. For example, coming live once in a while to just, talk to your audience is one thing, one great way to interact. There's BTS again. And I mean, don't be too hard on showing that you're honest. Just actually, don't cheat. And I mean, that's what people understand. So to bring an example here of Uber, Uber did a COVID-19 campaign that was called Uber Stop Moving. And it was like a very heart touching campaign and advertisement across, everywhere digital. So there was a video wherein people were shown confined in their homes. I mean, COVID-19 was a horrible situation for all of us, still scary. So that was a time when the world shut, and of course, Uber being a transportation company, obviously it had stopped, and they urged people to stop moving. They said thank you for not riding Uber, which is definitely against the brand sales revenue. But
That's
they doing this actually showed that they care about the situation. There were people, there was no music, there was
that's
no
right.
words, nothing. There were just actions, there were just shots of people, spending time with their
That's it.
family within
That also
homes.
is about an interest because it's something like I've seen in some email campaigns, they are like, if you want growth, then don't open this email. So it's like there will be a curiosity within you. But obviously, in this case, it was that that messaging comes across, so it gets your attention, and then obviously they're talking about something genuinely where you shouldn't move out or use these services in general.
Yeah, I was just checking out that video again yesterday, and I'm still getting goosebumps because it was such a nice video. It had no words, nothing. It was just pure videos, photos, and a lot of emotion and relatability again. Because that is something that we were facing, like all of us were facing across the world. So that was something that connected us. And at the end, it just said, Uber, thank you for not riding with us. So that is something
That,
that's very nice, on a brand's part, and it actually shows that the brand cared. And that's how people, emotionally also connected, and it does help in the long run, definitely. Maybe it doesn't give instant results. It's a part of building a brand loyalty, definitely.
That's right. Yeah, when we talked about establishing your persona, brand persona, that's the first thing in humanizing your brand, and then it's about a genuine conversation. So, what would a person with that persona feel, and that is being communicated. Like you've seen certain marketing communications where they have genuinely talked about maybe a market slowdown or what they have been kind of facing. So there is a genuine this thing concern. Like people also then understand when the person is being honest. Like if a person they say now that if he's not defensive at all, he's what is he, you cannot beat that. Then what are you going to say on that? So that is a I think really good strategy. It's obviously when we are in our normal things, there is the insecurities and all. That's why these mistakes we make of not
Mhm.
being authentic. But as a brand, then having that confidence and then going that within your messaging, that goes a long way. When they say there is a genuinity. So, but Nandini, around this, let's say authenticity, one is you can say about the vulnerability aspect, right? That when you are talking about and a concern, what other things would say about being authentic?
I think the other thing here could be caring for your audience, caring for your employees. Again, authenticity, just how charity begins at home. Also, authenticity is a lot, displayed through how these employers are keeping their employees. What is the brand culture like, and how are they supporting it? For example, again, just one post that I saw from Zomato, that they were actually appreciating one of the delivery partners to clear an exams in Tamil Nadu. So that's very nice. Plus,
Hmm.
again, caring for the people who are their main stakeholders or who are their fast stakeholders is something that definitely shows authenticity and a genuine care that lies in the brand. For example, these AI generated rain posts that happened for delivery partners by Zomato, that that was also that delivery partners are also humans. So I mean, they're also enjoying the rain and all of that. So that was very interesting. So to show that the brand has care, compassion is definitely another part. And I mean, genuine personality can also be brought through the kind of humor that your brand puts in. So yeah, I mean, these are a few things that
That's
definitely
right. That's right.
matter.
Definitely. About the employees also, I would like to say in Uber, they have a communication which I think I read about treating the people, the drivers, and all that with respect, because maybe generally they were observing this is not being done. In terms of when there is a general thing like person is below your economic strata, you don't treat him like
Correct.
well generally. So here they said that we maintain that kind of a respect with them in terms of the communication, the way you're speaking. Also, a rating system for the riders, the people who
Correct.
are
Correct.
as customers.
Yes.
That also is there in so within that product only they have this
True.
thing incorporated that approach. So not only in marketing, when you have this overall authentic approach in all your activities, it is woven into your product. Then it's, I would say, sky's the limit, because in terms of that positive goodwill that happens in the whole ecosystem, that carries you far in that. Awesome.
Yeah.
So Nandini, then let us cover a little bit about the storytelling aspect. Like, how do you design communications? Maybe I've seen in Humanizing there are a lot of series you start, where you're talking about, like when we mentioned about the in Zomato's case with the delivery partners, there was a series where they covered, I think, few of the delivery partners and their journey. How they were able to
Correct.
uplift their particular
Yes.
family with
Right.
starting work in and how they prospered. So what do you feel, what kind of different storytelling concepts or strategies they can use in the social media?
Correct. Correct. Okay, so see, the very base of again us being humans and transcending through these generations is story. I mean, one thing that you'd always remember from your childhood is your parents or your grandparents telling stories to you. You'd go off to bed hearing stories. You'd hear stories while eating. So stories actually keep us engaged and grounded in the sense. I mean, see, as humans, we are very curious. So we are always willing to, understand the entire bit of it. Don't have any whys left in between. Don't have any, gaps in between. And stories kind of fulfill that for you. So again, for a brand, it's important to establish a storyline for themselves that, why did they come into existence? How did they come into existence? What is their existence exactly? What are they here for? Purpose, everything. So again, storytelling is like the very, thread that ties everything around. And a story has to be there, a solid story to, maybe just meet your communication through. And see, maybe for bigger brands, I can talk about Nike here because they're doing an amazing job in the kind of storytelling that they're doing. So, like, it's a brand personality that is brought through of a very nice, motivating friend who says, just do it. So, if you see their story, it's about, being not just a lot athletic, but just, do it. I mean, go for the first step of it. For example, they have these running marathons wherein they don't ask you to wear Nike shoes. Like whatever shoes you wear, just come and just do it. Whatever communication is built across that, whatever campaigns they do, it has that, motivating tone. It's like their story that, we want people to just do it. How did they come into existence? And all of it is built around the fact that just do it. Also, I'll tell you an interesting example and how I have been very persistent with asking people to do their stories. For example, my relative has a clothing brand. She started it at her home just as a passion project, but she's trying to now make it big on Instagram. And I told her that you need to be out there and tell that why did you start this, what is your love for these clothes that they were you doing, and what is your day to day life like, what is the purpose, what is the value that these brands have, the brand has, that relates to you. So again, storytelling helps connect people so good to you that again you gain that emotional benefit there. So
That's
yeah.
right. But in executing a storytelling strategy, like
Hmm.
say I am a startup, so
Hmm.
I have to, maybe if I don't have the talent within to tell that, so you're hiring a talent where has been into writing, like they know that process of building a story, characters, and then the complete process and create the arc and everything. So do you think that is also somewhere where writers can come in, like where you have a strong writing background, then that really helps you as a marketer.
I mean, if you're the founder, then not necessarily, because your emotions
No,
will
like
directly
hiring
even play
talent,
into.
your the talent you hire or work with, they should have those qualities.
Yeah, I mean, the writers also need to understand right now that just bland copy, just, informative copy does not work with people anymore. They want to, have a bent and a flow to it. Just how carousels are very, trending right now, that are just continuous ones. And it's like
Hmm.
one small story, but it actually teaches you something. So
Hmm.
presenting that in a form that is, consumable, but also is remembered by people in the form of stories is very important for writers to understand right now.
That's right. Yeah, carousels is a very good example in in terms of storytelling, because that interest is there within you when you see it, and then you kind of scroll through it. So it's like, say, there are parts of a story when it unfolds. So there are, like, say, five parts. So there are five carousels in which you are telling a unique thing about it. So yeah, it's being used a lot of, I think, in terms of qualities, features, benefits, all those kind of things or tips. They have been using these kind of carousels on LinkedIn and Instagram. That's right.
Correct.
I feel the storytelling aspect, where as marketers obviously read a lot of content, I think books, interesting in your domain as well as in general, like fictional, it helps you kind of, this grow that. Because I think in this day and age of digital media, somewhere or the other, we are just consuming videos. So somewhere, I think, if you are in that industry, look at people who are like in a generation earlier. They will tell you that they used to read a lot of books, and also I think that is a good quality to have. Also, it gets like you, in terms of the concentration and focus, it helps you. So yeah, I think, Nandini, you also a very avid reader. What would you also say in terms of benefits of reading a lot of books and sharing also content with a community in the same?
Correct. Books have been very close to my heart ever since. I mean, even when I was a child, I started reading Harry Potter, and that's like every teenager's start. I used to read Princess Diaries, and then suddenly I saw change in the genre that I started reading. I mean, in college, I went very hard on productivity, marketing, business, and I mean, you don't understand when you read a book because you don't remember every line of it, but honestly,
Hmm.
it's there in your subconscious. I mean,
Hmm.
right now also the things that I've gathered, the things that I'm saying, they're somewhere or the other picked from,
Hmm.
all these things that I've read, all these things that I've seen and, learned. So books are a major, major part of my learnings, and I'd recommend people to, go about reading any version of it. You want an audio book, you want to read it on, digital. I say I'm a total vintage person, so I love collecting books. I love buying those and reading them, in my hand.
Hmm.
That's the vibe of
Hmm.
how I'd like it. So Friday evening could be about reading a nice book. And I try to divide it in two ways. For example, maybe at one time I have two books that I'm reading. One is a more, business oriented one, a marketing one, and the other one is a little light on the end that, is like a feel good. So I
Hmm.
recently read this book that is called Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. It could get a little stereotypical at times, but I mean, it was just to understand the psychology that goes
Hmm.
behind every man and woman. And as marketers, I think we need to be very on top of the game for psychology. So psychology books are definitely, very important for us to read to understand how does the mind work, how does the gender work. So
Hmm.
yeah.
So, Nandini, any books you have already read where you can recommend it to marketers, that somewhere or the other these has certain things that marketers can benefit from?
Right. Yes, definitely. So to start with, I will go talk about the book that is called Biology. It's a neuro marketing book, and it will blow your mind. I mean, it's such a nice book that it actually tells you, what goes behind the mind of a person when they are interacting with the brand they like, when they're interacting with a new brand, what are sales filters that are put in the minds of the people when they're, just shown something that people are asking for them to buy. So, one book is that. Then, of course, This Is Marketing is a great book to start with. For every person who's starting it, This Is Marketing is like a very good book. Sell Like Crazy is another book that covers the aspect of selling selling more and generating more sales. It's again an excellent book. And then Austin Kleon is one author in the field of creativity that I'd like to mention. His Steal Like an Artist, Keep Going. There are great books for you to just go through in a light way, and you gain a lot from it. I mean, there are still learnings from it that I remember clearly. And again, one book that I mentioned for every person to read on this earth is How to Win Friends and Influence People. That is a book that has helped me become a more, influential person, as I'd like to call it, and a more likable person, and just maybe a better person, because I mean, that just helps everyone.
Awesome, awesome. That's great. That's great. Now coming to the part of, we're talking about a social media strategy of becoming, more humanize the brand. So when you're actually executing it, what types of content or formats would you recommend, Nandini, in terms of, really hitting home the point and connecting more with your audience?
So see, there's no right formula for it. I mean, every brand has a different TOV, every brand has a different personality, and they use different kinds of content. But I mean, if we go largely by Instagram, then I would say that we can use all the formats that are there: stories, posts, carousels, reels, to interact in different ways and bring out the best optimization of it. So stories again can be used for you to just share BTS, or
Hmm.
just share what goes behind the brand, coming live, asking Q&A, engagement in the sense of polls, in the sense
I
of
think
AMA. Hmm.
going live when it came out also as a feature.
Hmm.
I think Insta was the first platform only where
Yes.
you could
Hmm.
directly come live. It was about when they were doing a bit of in terms of the product team was looking at what new features they can do. There was definitely one thing that they observed, that the followers felt there was no actual connection with that person. It felt like, yeah, he just maybe producing content like a factory. So there's no, we want that person like genuinely should come on live
Hmm.
and talk to us.
True.
So that was where yeah, okay, we can go in for these live stream. Now I think every platform has a live feature. Now you have platforms separately where there is a kind of, you can have a live interaction, like a live meetup or something like that. So yeah, that was something where you can, like, the product teams really also look at how more you can connect. So where humanizing that approach, even product teams can look so much and study the audience and add so many different features.
Correct. Definitely. Yes. And I mean, I can talk here about my experience at Dentsu. So at Dentsu, I was looking at Poco India as a social media account executive, and Poco India is a global smartphone brand. And their competitors, I'll say Oppo, they are OnePlus. So if you see the telecom industry in that sense, they're mostly a little cliche in the sense that they will only put out product photos. They're going to talk about the product more rather than bringing out a raw image of the brand. So
Hmm.
while I was at Dentsu, I remember that we wanted to do something very different for the brand, and clutter breaking in the sense something that no other smartphone brand is probably doing at that time. So we started doing human reels. I mean, if you go to the Poco page right now, you'd see me being a lot featured there. I mean, it was fun in the sense that we used to do trending reels that could relate to, the phones that Poco has. I was not, templatized or anything. It was actually very raw, wherein we just, took a trending audio where we'd, understand what could be the relation here, and we'd shoot it in office, at homes, with multiple people from office, and then we, just edit the text of it, and it goes live. And it was very liked by people, it was loved by the team, because that was something that could attach a human level to the brand. And that was something that no other smartphone brand was probably doing at that time. So also bringing in the company culture, just showing off the faces of your team, or maybe doing some cultural events at the office, showing them off as reels, are something great. Are like great ideas of humanizing your brand in the sense of content.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, going forward, even companies could be hiring like a audition, like how do you, perform in a reel. That will help us in our own
Yeah.
marketing and all that. That could also, happen going forward. But definitely that angle where you are showcasing the company culture,
Hmm.
that when in an employer branding, that goes a long way. When we are kind of deciding to join a company and we review the content, and when we see all these people have been showcased, then it has a greater effect. I've seen certain many companies who are doing this strategy in a very good way, and I'm sure their in terms of conversion rate for a company, in terms of the interviews they give, they select, and the person then joining has increased with this kind of content.
Yeah, and I'll give you one more example. There's this gifting startup that's called the Good Road Gifting, and what they do is they have a small team. They build hampers and gifting gift hampers, gift boxes for across corporate weddings, festivals, everything. And they have an excellent strategy of bringing their team in the view of the social media. I mean, I saw a video that was like a no bag day at office, and everybody was doing something, was bringing maybe something in a box or maybe in a bucket. So it was very nice, and they used to do weekly
Mhm.
recaps of how the week has been at the Good Road. So this kind of thing that actually help us
That's
connect with more the
Yes, yes.
people in
This is
the brand.
a very interesting point where when what do you think about, like, say, when you are humanizing it, is you are ready to make be made even fun of, right? Like, that's fine. That's being a part of being human. So when you have seen these brand integration like Netflix, when they are bringing on these stand-up comedians and they're doing it, they're even roasting their movies which are on their platform. So they are kind of open to that, and with the Gen Z, definitely that is connecting more. So it's the same way, like when we are talking about the company culture, like even though you might not act well, you could showcase some funny situation with your boss and all that, they are ready to show and laugh at themselves also. So that connects more with the audience, and they feel, yeah, this person like me only, yeah. And it would be a great to join that particular company.
Correct. I mean, this is, I mean, not very healthy, but we as Gen Z and this generation, we are a little too much into talking self-depreciation. No? I mean, it's not nice, but now it's quite funny. For example, if you see Kusha Kapila's rant reels, they are very much, in trend. Because we
Hmm.
love to hear these things. We talk anything about us. We're like, oh, we can't do this, we can't do that. And also, it's kind of showing that we're not ashamed to tell what we're not good at. And again, that shows
Hmm.
vulnerability in the sense, and then you own it up to
That's it.
yourself. Very human again.
Yes, yes. Yes, but here I would like to specify the rant would be somewhere where you're telling about other people. Like if you're putting them down, generally you say that. But here it's you're laughing at yourself. So
Yourself.
there we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
kind of, yeah. Definitely those kind of content also are there. They get now. There are many reasons, like a lot of kind of content will still get a lot of views, but in terms of you as a brand and you're maintaining that positive kind of image, or in terms of your branding, so this where the humanizing aspect would come, where you can kind of laugh at yourself.
Yeah,
When we
yeah, and
talk
again,
about, yeah,
Kusha Kapila has a lot of reels ranting about herself also. If you see that, like,
yes, yes.
she's talking about mujhse multitask nahi hota, and
Hmm.
it's there are very nice reels that she's done, and people are going crazy after
Yeah,
it
yeah.
because
So
they can
there the
relate to
people
it.
connect more. That you're saying that
Yes.
we see somebody, it's very aspirational position or some
Hmm.
benchmark. They have said that this is the way I lead my life, and this discipline
Hmm.
I get up at this time, and this is how I execute. I do have a huge company and all.
Hmm.
Somewhere everyone cannot do that, right? They don't
Yeah.
have that much of ability and that much passion. So it's like you when you hear from actual, say, an influencer that they have faced this struggle also, they also like you in some ways, and
Yeah.
in terms of they will overcome certain things, and also then you feel
Hmm.
relatable. Yeah, this is person like me also, I can also do this, this in some way I can also kind of improve my situation, or learn from them. That's what they were, this is how they approached it and did it, than being like too perfect and idealistic. I think even if you take celebrities ka the journey that has happened from a point where a celebrity was considered somewhere like there's a mystery about them and they are inaccessible. So that created that, like, yeah, they're gonna come on the screen, and now it's more about accessibility and they're knowing more about you.
Yeah.
And that way, kind of, yeah, that is the kind of a journey we've had with respect to the heroes that we have. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there is a phrase that is the dash gets me. I mean, we say it, oh, this brand totally gets me, or this influencer totally gets me. So it's like, yeah, oh, this is so relatable. I mean, this is exactly me. So, this is a point where it hits home and it's like, oh, this person is like me. So we invest our time in it.
That's right. So Nandini, we can talk about a little bit few examples about how you find humor. Obviously, the human aspect that we covered is you want a person who can make you laugh, somebody who at a normal situation can point out some funny thing in it and lighten up the whole thing. So how do you kind of use humor as a brand? Maybe certain brands you can talk about have executed that quite well and create more, as we are discussing, of more connect with the audience.
Right. So if you have seen, I mean, just a very funny example that just came to my mind right now. There's Indian matchmaking, okay, on Netflix. So basically, the theme is that the matchmaker, she asked the person who's looking to get married, what are the qualities of a person that you'd want to get married to? And it's a very major point in all of them that they're like, oh, I want somebody who's funny, who makes me laugh, who's humorous. So it's almost like a quality that you'd obviously be willing to, find in your partner. And obviously, we're all looking for a life that's happier, that's funner, and we don't want to be dull. So humor is very, very important in a brand's social presence. But again, understanding what is the brand's TOV, you can't go very funny also if you're a brand that's more formal in the sense, has a different TOV. So understanding humor is very important and critical, because humor can also be acting against your brand. I
Mm.
mean, understanding that humor is also very fragile would be very
Yes.
relevant here. And when it comes to humor, I mean, I'm just thinking of a few copies that Durex had put out, and they're absolutely hilarious. I mean, moment marketing is one, point we can touch upon here. I mean, humor is brought a lot about by Durex for moment marketing. For example, I'll just share a quick post that they did for Vicky Katrina's wedding, and it was very secretive. I mean, people were like, "Oh, what is happening in their wedding? We don't know," and there were no drones allowed, no phones allowed. Very selective people were
Yeah.
invited.
There are
There
a
was
lot
a
of
whole mystery around it.
news pieces that were about the secrecy of the whole thing, and how the
Yeah,
heavy security is maintained, and drones,
correct.
and I don't know what all other things like was happening. So yeah, that was like people were kind of hooked at that time. What's happening in the
Yeah.
world. Any kind of information they're getting, they're like gravitating towards that.
Yeah, and brands were also going mad because this was a great moment for them to capture on. So
Hmm.
Durex brought out this copy that said, "Dear Vicky and Katrina, you've got to be kidding if we are not invited." So I mean, this is very related to the brand, and it hits on for the
Hmm.
moment exactly because they were being very secretive. Then again, there is
Hmm.
something that they did for Alia's and Ranveer's wedding. They're like महफिल में तेरी हम नहीं है तो fun नहीं क्या था fun नहीं है something like that, wherein they
That's it.
try to make fun because that was also a very small wedding.
Hmm.
And they also captured on that this being a song in Ranveer's movie. So it
Hmm.
was just perfect. I mean, moment marketing by Durex is a great example of humor being brought out and just makes people smile and just move on. And this just remains in our mind as humans, and we're like, oh, this band was really funny, and then we connect overall.
That's right. Yeah, in humorous content, the shareability is definitely more. If you've any like marketers, if you've done an analysis, if
Hmm.
a certain humorous piece really hits home, the shareability is 5 to 6 times more than maybe even an inspirational or something where you are sharing an important information per se in that domain or something, like say if it's a health fitness brand, you're talking about something specific. So very important, like humor ka there is no like if you see, like if anyone does an analysis, like I was talking to somebody who is working somewhere in the Hindi film industry or something, where you're looking at some statistics and all. So over the last 10 years, if you see, the comedy movies would have had the maximum box office or collection or something. So it's because that in people's life also there's a lot of stress and all that, and they
Correct,
want to think.
exactly.
If you
Yes.
see the stand-up comedy scene
Hmm.
how it's come up in the last 8 years. Now we have these top comics, they are having
Hmm.
world tours and all, right? The level
True.
of, and you can see the social media following. So
Yes.
the need of really good content, that humor, and then in the moment marketing, when you mix it with high interest on a certain topic, that is the killer combination. If you can nail it, which the
Yeah,
examples you
yeah.
kind of talked about. Awesome.
Correct. Yes.
So, Nandini, then lastly, when we have done these things, so we have incorporated as marketing managers our whole approach in humanizing a brand, our activities, sub activities that we have to do. How do you have to, design this post? Maybe some marketing collaterals you have to create to, really execute this properly. But when you have done these efforts over a period of time, how do you kind of, what would be your measure for the success for them? What are the metrics we are looking at? How do you present that to a higher management? With this approach, we have done these activities, and this is what the result we have got.
Right. Right. See, I don't want to go by very technical metrics. I mean, we all know about engagement rates, likes, revenue, sales, all of that. Okay, I mean, we all know that. But other than that, I think one very major, engagement or success measure here would be how people are interacting with you. I mean, imagine that the attention span of a person is so less right now that we're even calling it an attention economy, because we are just trying to grab everybody's attention. I mean, any brief that you hear, it's like we just want to grab attention. We just want people's attention. I mean, we've become very desperate. So, I mean, getting somebody's attention and for them to get involved with your brand. I mean, in the form of making a comment or, replying to your stories or engaging to your stories is something that, brands can use as a metric to measure what is the effect of them humanizing the brand on the audience. For example, if you see any Zomato's reel out there, so I mean, they are not even asking people to comment. There are some posts that they're asking people to, comment and they'll win free dinners and all. But not talking about those. There are posts when they're not even asking people to, come up with something funny on this. I see a bunch of comments on it. People are, just being funny. They're just typing anything that's related to the video, and they're putting in that effort to, take the time and write themselves, think about it. I think this is a huge measure of, the brand success in humanizing the brand, because this is all, I mean, crazy. People somewhere are craving for attention and people somewhere are getting vast responses. These are two contrasts and a lot of, contributed by humanizing the brand.
That's right. I think even if we look at an offline kind of a measure when you are doing so in humanizing brand, I would say having these events for your TG, designing it, what would be a fun event for them, and then that interaction that you'll come to know actually how many people are ready to come down to your particular event, when you have. So um, definitely anything like since you also part of a Gen Z in terms of their major market for these brands. So you have been any invited or attended any events of these brands, and you can like just talk anything in terms of how well they were designed or how not well, whichever these events how they can design this in.
Yeah, yeah. So I worked for a short while with Pepper Content. Pepper Content is a content platform wherein they're trying to, bridge the gap between businesses and content writers, and they're creating content, and it's like an e-commerce platform for content. And they have these IPs that they do. One is called NBC, that is the Big Creators Award. So
Mhm.
next big creator awards, wherein they're trying to award the content creators who are like coming on great.
Mhm.
So this was an event that happened virtually, and it was a run through of like 12 hours of events and webinars and interactions with some great content creators from across the world. And the response was so massive. I mean, I was in the core team of organizing it in 2022, and it was massive. I mean, people loved it. They were there on it virtually, and to be honest, in person events are still easier to gather people to rather than virtual events now, because we've reached that tipping point. We don't want to go to
Yeah.
virtual events anymore. So getting that kind of a response in a virtual event wherein people were going crazy in the comments, it actually showed that we were able to impart value to the people.
That's it.
So I mean that
Very
was one
important
great
point with
event.
the
Hmm.
technology now,
Hmm.
where you have these screens and two-dimensional. Unless Web3 now going forward, I've
Hmm.
listened to podcast of,
Hmm.
like even Mark Zuckerberg. We are looking at things where
Hmm.
at least there is a more immersive experience.
Yeah, we
Unless
are.
we have that, I don't think virtual events now will have any kind of a connection. It just becomes like a webinar where someone is coming, you will talk, you will put some comments in that or something, a chat, and then you will have some questions you ask and they will answer it. So it's very detached. So obviously the first thing which I feel for a younger demographic, where they come to an event, they want to meet the other people there, right? That is taken out in a virtual
Yeah.
setting. So
Yes.
yeah, then it's just like you're coming for that particular person, like whichever star, whatever is there, who is going to be presenting, and you talk about that domain or ask questions in that. Yeah, so yeah, that is one thing in there.
Correct, correct. And I mean, when we talk about events, I think we shouldn't miss talking about how Taylor Swift has been doing her concerts and her mad craze that is happening in the, audience and her listeners. I mean,
Hmm.
if you've seen her videos on YouTube, she has planned it like thoroughly. She's doing very new things, innovative things in her concert to actually impart a great experience to the people who are there. So
Hmm.
she's using these huge machineries, new kind of things wherein, there are different kinds of lights, there are different kinds of, sound and setups, and it's all mystical, I mean. And then it's not just that she's at the front of it, but she's also traveling across the, you know, like the
Hmm.
stadium that she's doing. So it's
Hmm.
again crazy and
Audience
how
interactions also, there have been quite some innovative
yeah,
ones.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There have been some great. I mean, I saw a video which is like very funny, wherein there was one visit that she did. I don't know. I think it was to some college or something, or some place wherein actually one guy was actually proposing to his girlfriend in front of Taylor Swift because wow, she's there.
Hmm.
So, I mean, sharing such a personal moment with somebody is huge because, I mean, imagine the kind of worship that, both of them would be worshipping to Taylor Swift. So, I mean, Taylor
That's it.
Swift's version of
And that
humanizing it
is can
is
be
excellent.
where, like, as her brand, when she showcases it, that this has happened in her interaction with her fans, so that creates a very
Hmm.
humanized, that they feel, I'm sure there is a connect with that star, that they feel that it's a safe zone, like you can do this thing, and you
Yeah, yeah.
have that. Both, obviously both would be fans of Taylor Swift.
Yes.
Yeah, that is interesting also, and I think that was the reasons of it going viral, that video also.
Yeah, yeah. And plus, I mean, see all the relatability and why are people attached to Taylor Swift? It's because her songs are so relatable and she's being very authentic again. She's a great example of authenticity because she writes her feelings down on in those songs. Whatever is going on in her life, she tries to, mirror that in a song that she's written. And it just connects with people. I mean, she was also a teenager. People who listened to were teenagers. As she, adulted,
Hmm.
the fans have adulted with her. Very similar experiences, and people just connect with that. They're like, oh, she gets me again. She's just like
That's it.
one of us. That
Yeah.
creates a safe
Yeah,
space.
it's like an authentic approach, like what is happening in her life. Obviously, as an artist, she can express it within her art, and over the
Hmm.
years, obviously, you master that more. But
Hmm.
that's what maybe connects with them. That she's not scared. Like it was almost like there was a so many memes out of that, that she, once she has a breakup, then a new song will come out or something. So it's
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like, yeah, that whole journey you kind of connect, because what all situations you face as this thing, she is also facing that, and then she is having the art form. So that is what is relating. I think even the art forms, they relate with you more, because you connect with it. That is certain situation happened in her, like when you connect with a certain song, maybe a certain lines, this situation is connected with you, so that has a more. And as for a marketer's point of view also, would be that you are virtually you have to create different kind of art forms within your content so that they connect more with the
Yes.
audience, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. People are so bored easily these days that we need to always keep finding new avenues for them to, feel wow, like just to instill that wow factor.
Awesome. Great. So I think it's been a great podcast here with you, Nandini. Thank you for taking out your time for this and doing this. So, wanted to know also, like, the in terms of you as a freelancer, what kind of services you kind of offer to your particular TG?
Right. See, I'll quickly talk about a project that is very close to my heart again. That is like
Mm.
a passion project for me. I wouldn't call that freelance also. That's like a passion project. So my father has a jewelry store in Varanasi. And I mean, he did not have a social media presence until last year. I mean, everybody used to say that, oh, you're in social media, maybe you should try to bring them a little online. So it's a typical brick and mortar store because we've been in this for quite a while now. So I was like, yeah, that's not a bad idea, but I have no idea of how jewelry works, how this industry is. But I got on it. And it's been 1 year, and it's been absolutely amazing. It's been totally bootstrapped. I mean, I my purpose is never to generate sales on it. It was always about awareness. So, starting on with how do you go about the social media page, Instagram page, designing, and designing was something that was totally out of my zone. I did not know Canva. I'm still not a proficient designer, but I still use Canva. So designing the campaigns and then thinking it through according to what season is upcoming, what product do we want to promote, then building a storyline according to it. And now I'm also trying to build on a silver line of products with him. So just kind of shooting for it, and photographing it and editing it. So it's been great. And I mean, I wouldn't call it a freelance service, but it's mostly that comes from the heart. Other than
That's
that,
it.
I've done
That's
some
like your
recent
own
content
family
and all.
business where you are also being a part of it in the expertise that you have.
Yeah, and it's been quite recent. I mean, I mean, it's good that I can contribute in some sense. Plus, it's
Yes.
been a great learning experience because running everything by yourself on digital has also got very hard. Plus,
Mm.
understanding writing, designing, strategizing, running ads also, it's a lot of work. But it's given me great exposure, and I'm just loving it. Apart from that, my freelance journey has also been about creating content, being a ghostwriter for a few personal brands. Other than that, some reels content that when reels started booming, so that was a great time to start pitching reels to smaller businesses. So reels in the sense of freelance. Then of course this project. It's been a great journey in that sense. I mean, it's all been self-learned, which is kind of good also. But yeah.
That's right. That's right. So Nandini, also just one important. So since you have gained some good amount of expertise within Reels, since you have produced so many of them and work as per whichever domain you worked, you created accordingly. Any tips for the growth within the Reels?
Okay. So I don't want to again go by the normal thing, post consistently, use hashtags and all of that, use good quality videos. Again, we know all of it. But
Yeah.
there's one truth that I've started feeling about Reels right now is that the platform has got a little monetized. So when you
Hmm.
see 2 years back, the brands were still easier to grow because there was not so much crowd. And plus,
Hmm.
Instagram was not a platform where people were making money, but
Hmm.
now, since the platform has got a little too monetized, I mean, everybody is making money on Instagram. So obviously, they also realize the importance of their product, and they are asking you to put in money for that. So paid promotions are a trend, definitely. I mean, it's sad that you've been posting and the reach has been very low. But paid promotions are the reality of it now. I mean, there has to be a mix of good content, definitely, but a boost of paid promotion is necessary, is what I would say from my experience. But nevertheless, good content never goes out of style. So we always try
That's
to
right.
do something that's
So
quality, that's
actually, if you see
entertaining.
the reality, though, when you are working for a brand and
Hmm.
they have a few thousand followers only, you honestly, like, what is the probability of them to, if they say, okay, we want a reel, maybe reaching 100,000 views and all, how realistic is this? Organically, that's when we specify that.
Organically, I think it's got very tough right now because I'm seeing even with people with follower influencers who have like 1 million followers, the
Hmm.
organic reach is very low. I mean, the
Hmm.
engagement is very low, the organic reach is very low. I
Organic.
mean,
So you are saying even these influencers, they are using the paid promotions to get more reach.
anybody and everybody will have to use paid promotions to get these reach. I mean, not every piece of content needs to be boosted, but then there are some that are working really well. So you might as well
Hmm.
just boost them and get a higher, chance of being visible.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's an important thing. Like social media is not free anymore. You will have one odd
Hmm.
video that is just a luck, a
Hmm.
chance, something, some genius, maybe an art that was there or something really connected with the people. That would go viral, but that is not in a normal strategy. We have to have where we are delivering. If you're a marketer, he has to deliver. So when
Hmm.
we're talking about a certain amount of reach, you have to have a paid plan along with that.
Hmm.
Content is primary. Like even if you're an ad, you
Yeah.
see so many of these ads, you just scroll over it. So that money is kind of
Correct.
wasted, right? That view or
Correct.
reach or whatever. So yeah, this is an important thing to consider. In a positive aspect would be is that take small steps. Like if you are promoting, the money spent also has to be kind of gradual, and somewhere you can monetize that, obviously in a brand towards the business itself, but also in terms of services you're offering, as a domain expert after a period of time. And many people are doing it. If you're investing that much time within it, you will look at somewhere or the other this can be monetized. And popularity today can be monetized in hundreds of ways, online in any domain. Also, specifically, you have there are a lot of ways. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. So, Nandini, then to wrap up, then this topic of humanizing. Any takeaway, one or two few points about the takeaway for the audience, marketers, upcoming influencers, and all, to creating more connect with influence, humanizing your brand.
Correct. I think just one line that we should all keep in mind right now, and this is like an insight which we are aware of, but we don't generally remind us of this, is that, with the growth of AI, with the growth of the content that's been generated by machines, I think there's just a greater need for us to produce something that's more human. I mean, I
Hmm.
read this great post that was like, maybe we don't have to consider Grammarly suggestions all the time
Hmm.
because of course we human have a different way of writing. So
Hmm.
I mean, Grammarly suggests something that is grammatically correct, yes,
Yeah.
but that maybe lacks behind
Something which
emotion.
is too perfect also doesn't appear too human.
Yes, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the case with humans also. If you see
Yeah.
somebody who's very perfect, you might find that gimmicky a little. So,
Yeah.
being perfect with your imperfections is something that we're all looking for. And the kind of content will also hit when, it's
Hmm.
just human and not it's not something that's just very perfect. It just brings about who you are. Again, this is a very basic strategy that I use for my LinkedIn also. That I never try to, sugarcoat things, or it's just as honest as it can be. And it's something that just how I'm going to talk is how I'm going to write. So this is a great, way of approaching how you're writing content. It's just how you talk, you write it.
That's right. So, most important thing is you having a faith in yourself, your abilities, and when you are in that process, you believing. Because then we kind of insecurity comes in with not believing, in yourself in the first place. So
Mm-hmm.
you kind of feel, oh, I should follow this, then follow that, this trend, that trend. So this is the thing about the authenticity, that a major belief in yourself, for God looking after you and all, and then going along that path. And even if it's hard, then going, like they say, there are no shortcuts. Why do they say that? Because your hard path, when you go, you learn so many things, and then you contribute so much, to society. Awesome.
Correct.
Thanks a
Yeah.
lot. Yes, that's a great session. We'll wrap it up. Thanks, Nandini. And to the audience, many interesting episodes coming on the MI podcast. Many interesting people like this will come and share their perspective, where you will also get, a good thing about marketing and life in general, how to understand people, consumers, and connect with them. Thanks a lot for your time. I'll see you. Take
Just
care.
1 second, 1 second, Nikhil, 1 second here. I mean, I just want to take 2 minutes to also appreciate you in front of the audience, definitely, because uh, I mean, the kind of efforts that you're putting in making these podcasts, it's not seen maybe on these screens, but there goes a lot that's behind it, and I really appreciate the kind of passion that you have for this and the kind of consistency with which you're doing it. I mean, that's amazing with no, like personal benefit of it, but you're still doing it and you just like it. It's great. I mean, thank you so much for doing this, for inviting me. It means a lot to me. I mean, I can't tell you how much that means to me, but thank you. Thank you for everyone. Thank you everyone for listening to us. It's been great.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for your kind word, Nandini. And everyone, take care. See you.